about you. I wish I had never become popular because the way it happened still gives me nightmares today. When I was 13, my family moved to a small town in Ohio for my dad's job. Being the new kid sucked. Everyone had known each other since kindergarten. The cool kids had their groups locked down and didn't want some random kid from California messing up their vibe. I tried sitting with different tables at lunch, but the looks told me to GTFO. After 2 weeks of eating alone, I was desperate for any kind of friendship. That's when Brandon and Quinn started talking to me in gym class. They were the kids everyone avoided, and I'd find out why later. Brandon had greasy hair and wore the same Metallica shirt every day. Quinn was huge for his age and had this habit of laughing at nothing. They were the only ones who would actually have a conversation with me, so I started hanging with them. For a few weeks, it was fine. We played video games at Brandon's house or walked the abandoned train tracks talking about movies. I was into filmmaking back then and always carried my dad's old camcorder. They thought it was cool and kept asking me to film random stuff like skateboard tricks or them chasing squirrels. One Friday night, Brandon texted me to meet him and Quinn under the bridge by the river. He said to bring my camera because they had something epic planned. I figured it was another dumb stunt, so I grabbed my camcorder and went. The underpass was darker than I expected. Shopping carts full of junk and cardboard. The smell hit me first, like garbage mixed with chemicals. Brandon and Quinn stood near a group of people huddled around a burning trash barrel. As my eyes adjusted, I realized they were homeless and messed up on some sort of substance. One guy rocked back and forth mumbling. A woman was passed out against the wall. Another man scratched his arms raw like bugs were crawling under his skin. Everyone here was clearly hurting and sick. Start recording, Brandon said, eyes lit up. I turned on the camcorder, unsure what he wanted me to film. Maybe it was some kind of documentary. He walked closer to the group. They didn't notice us. Watch this, Brandon said, glancing back. He pulled a hunting knife from his jacket. Before I could react, he stabbed the man scratching his arms. The man barely responded. He grunted and swayed, but kept scratching at his other arm like nothing happened. Blood soaked through his jacket. Quinn burst into his strange, manic laugh. Do it again! Get the lady! He shouted. These weren't my friends. They were psychopaths, and I was filming evidence of attempted murder. My hands shook so badly the footage must have looked like an earthquake. Brandon stepped toward the passed-out woman with the knife still in his hand. I ran. I just kept on running. I did not stop until I reached home and saw the camcorder's red light still recording. For the next 3 months, I avoided them. I ducked into bathrooms and empty classrooms whenever I saw them. They stared at me during lunch with dead eyes that made me sick. Panic attacks kept me from eating. My grades tanked. My parents asked what was wrong, but I couldn't tell them. I was terrified Brandon and Quinn would come after me if I said anything. Then one morning, cops showed up at our door. They said I was under arrest for assault with a deadly weapon. By lunch, the entire school knew the new kid had apparently killed someone. Everyone whispered about how I was going to jail. At the station, they showed me security footage of 3 kids entering the underpass. Brandon and Quinn had already been identified by their shoes, which still had blood on them when the cops searched their houses. During questioning, I broke down. I gave them the camcorder with the full video, including me running away. The footage saved me. It showed I had no idea what was planned and that I bolted as soon as those mofos started. Brandon and Quinn were charged as adults and sent to juvenile detention until they turned 18. I got community service at a shelter, working in a soup kitchen, which was nice. When I returned to school, everyone treated me like a hero for putting the psychos away. Everyone started saying, "Told you so," when they talked about Brandon and Quinn. The cool kids wanted to sit with me. Girls were actually approaching me and asked if I was okay, and that I could protect them anytime. I went from nobody to the most popular kid overnight, but I genuinely never wanted that kind of attention. I just wanted a friend. Even now, I still dream about that night under the bridge and wonder what would have happened if I didn't run from Brandon and Quinn.